Alright, so... am I broadcasting? There we go. Hey everyone, sorry that the stream cut out. I don't know what happened. I've taken this opportunity to load up a different game, and I'm just going to play this for a while. That's right, this is Akumajo Densetsu, the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, which of course has all the cool Japanese-only stuff in it. The VRC6 special chip with the extra sound channels and extra graphic abilities. I don't have my copy of Akumajo Densetsu handy, so I'm playing this off an EverDrive, so it's technically not running off the real VRC6, so maybe it's not going to be perfect, but we're going to give it a go. I'm going to play this, probably do a very poor job of it, but for those of you who have been hanging around and watching, we're going to play this game. So I guess the stream cut out when I read this off earlier, but Ghost Hack wants to see if I can turn off the scan lines. That involves making some changes with my upscaler, and is very cumbersome and involves menus and would probably be very boring. So instead of me doing that, how about you go to my YouTube channel, which is Toasty Frog, and check out the game videos that I've uploaded from the analog in T over the past couple of days. There's Bionic Commando, there's G.I. Joe. Those show what the analog output looks like without scan lines, and that should give you a good taste of what the system is capable of without the scan lines. But honestly, playing on this big LED TV without the scan lines is kind of uncomfortable. Like, it's not fun to look at. The scan lines provide a nice softening effect that, to me, makes the game a lot more playable. I realize it's not ideal for streaming video and on YouTube, but it's ultimately about me here, not you. So you'll just have to accept that. No, but seriously, it's really difficult to change over. I can't just do it on the fly, so I hope you'll forgive me. And like I said, there is video out there of what the analog looks like, and that's YouTube as opposed to Twitch, so it's probably more stable and accurate to look at. So, anyway, if you're playing at home and listening to this music, you're probably thinking, hey, this doesn't sound quite like I remember. There's something weird going on. And again, that's because of the special chip this ran on in Japan. Nintendo only let publishers and developers work with actual Nintendo-developed chips for the US releases. So the custom chips that Japanese developers were able to make were not available. So Castlevania 3 was slightly watered down for the US. It's still an amazing game, but the music's not quite as good, and there were some graphical changes, and even some, maybe some physics changes. I don't know. In that last room I was in before I came up the stairway, I noticed that the big red heart that fell at the very top of the room, when I play that on emulators, play Castlevania 3, that always falls through the bricks. I wonder if that is something to do with Castlevania 3, or if it's something to do with emulation, and is another example of just the slight imperfections that happen when you play on an emulator. Unless it's a really amazing emulator. Again, I realize that some emulators these days are totally awesome, and I don't mean to impugn the hard work of people like you who make their cycle-accurate emulators and are really dedicated to preserving and recreating the NES experience as much as possible. Anyway, so yeah, the music in this game, really great, and you'll see shortly some enemies that are very different in this version of the game. But again, it's all pretty much the same. There were some balance changes. Enemies deal damage differently. This version's actually a little easier, because when you get into the later game, every enemy in Castlevania 3 does a set amount of damage, whereas here it's scaled based on the enemy. So that's a nice little touch. Okay, so here's a different enemy. Those guys were Fleamen in the American version, but here they're these big goofy looking goblins, or gremlins. I don't necessarily think it's bad that they changed that, because, like I said, they are pretty goofy looking, but it is a difference. I think the change was just a matter of what they could handle on screen at once. The Gremlin sprites are several sprites combined, and Fleamen are much smaller. But who knows? Maybe they just don't like purple guys. Maybe they felt it wasn't Castlevania enough without the Fleamen. Whatever the case, this is an NES classic under any circumstance, so hooray. And Castlevania 3 is nice because it kind of split the difference between the original Castlevania and Castlevania 2. The first game was, you know, just 6 levels, very linear. Castlevania 2 had you going all over Transylvania. It was very confusing. This game has you going through Castlevania in a linear quest that does sort of break up. You have different branching paths, but you don't actually start at Dracula's castle, and you actually have to sort of find your way there. So it kind of gives you a little bit of that Transylvanian countryside, but also takes out the confusing elements of villagers who lie to you and that sort of thing. You bastard. Eat holy water. Alright, so that guy's dead. Life's awesome. And I missed the crystal. Oh well. Alright, so... Someone says there's a single button on the FrameMeister remote to select scan lines on and off. That is probably true, but I moved from an apartment to a house a few months back, and I still haven't figured out where my FrameMeister remote is. So as soon as I dig that up from whichever box it ended up in, I will be able to switch the FrameMeister scan lines on and off with ease, but for the time being I have to go over and mess with the device itself, which is a big pain in the butt. Anyway, that was one of the branching paths you just saw, and you can go up into a clock tower, and it looks like it's going to be a shortcut directly to the castle, take you just straight across the bridge. But once you get to the top of the tower and beat the boss, then the castle collapses, or the tower collapses, and the bridge collapses, so then you end up taking this route anyway. The only real advantage to going up in the clock tower is that you can acquire a companion character named Grant, who's very acrobatic, and is actually different in the Japanese version than in American. In the Japanese version he throws daggers instead of just stabbing with it, but I think he's kind of a lame character. I know he has some fans, but I don't like using him, so I'm just skipping him to go straight to Sipho, the awesome mage who shoots magic and is cool. She's weak, but she's cool. She's actually no weaker than Grant. She's physically has lower stamina than Trevor here, or Ralph if you prefer in the Japanese version. But she has really kick-ass magic, so it's all good. Anyway, if you chose to go through the clock tower, this is where you begin this stage. So there's a little bit of extra content no matter which way you go. And somehow I missed the boomerang, so I'm a big idiot, because these guys are much harder without a boomerang. Oh, there we go. I guess I'm not a big idiot after all. There we go. Eat Australia birds. Wow, I'm doing kind of a good job with this, but I guess that's because I played the other day for a video and did a terrible job, and now I've remembered what the tactics for the stage are. Maybe I should just practice for streams. That's probably the best idea. Maybe I should test in the future to see if the actual games I'm going to use work. That's probably a good idea too. This always bugged me as a kid. I really wanted to jump out there. I was like, what's out there? But it's impossible to find out, because if you try, you'll die. Oh. Oh. You bastard. One of the weird quirks of the setup I have is that these fog areas cause this sort of noise in the background that's not supposed to be part of the game. I don't know exactly what that's about, but there's kind of a whining noise wherever you see fog, and I apologize for that. Oops. So that's the space that I couldn't jump over before. Just a detour for nothing. Dracula really needs to think about the upkeep of his castle. So you can see the full map there. I'm taking this route. And again, there are two routes here. If you go down the bottom route, it's much harder, and eventually you meet Alucard, and there's a really crappy stage with falling blocks. But this stage takes you to Sipho, and she's awesome, and everyone should use Sipho because she's the best. One of the interesting things is that this stage... Oh, that was weird. This stage starts you out without a health refill, because you didn't beat a boss in the previous stage. So even though you're kind of coming to a new area of the map, it doesn't really count as a new area. So it's kind of nice how they built that little feature in, with that sort of consistency of mechanics. I like that. That's what Castlevania is really good at. Oh, bad news. Oh, double bad news. Alright. Yeah. No health refill. And that guy was just a jerk. So, I've got a crappy whip. Gotta say those little exploding space jellyfish guys were a lot easier in Symphony of the Night. So I mean, that was just rude. I have heard that Koji Igarashi's favorite Castlevania game was Castlevania 3. So I guess it makes sense that there would be references like the jellyfish dudes in Symphony of the Night, because he was calling back to an old favorite. Let's see. Now there's a lot of conversation happening in the chat about this game and how awesome it is, and you guys are all correct, this game is awesome. So, well done, you have great taste. Don't normally like the axe, but man, is it sure helpful in this stage. Kinda wonder about those spiders though, they're just like shooting their babies at me. What kind of parenting is that? Not very good parenting, I tell you. Kind of like I'm not doing very good platforming. But with luck I can survive long enough to get to Sipho. Ah, there we go. Yeah, that's a biggie. But it's a bad idea. Come on back. It's okay, I just want to throw axes at you. We're all friends here. What's an axe between buddies? I don't remember this guy being quite this stupid in the American version. Is this how he normally is? You can just stand out of his reach? And actually, he should be able to reach me. He's got a frickin' hammer. He's taller than me. What's up with this guy? Oh well. AI exploits. What can you do? I've got a Dracula to beat. I'm not too proud to cheat. That's my roadblock-like mantra. And one more. There we go. Thanks for the great fight, buddy. Alright. So, anyway, here's Sipho. And she's cool. And she's going to be awesome. Thanks for helping me, she says. That's all the Japanese I know. Congratulations, me. And, yes, she should be my pal. Hey, Trevor uses his right hand to shake here as opposed to the American version where he uses his left. That's unusual. Or maybe it's just in the other battles he's facing the other way. I don't know. So then a ghost ship appears from nowhere. It's very fortunate for them that that just kind of showed up, huh? So yeah, there's the gimmick for the stage. All right, what fun. This music is very, very boring in the American version, but sounds really cool in this one. Very atmospheric. It's amazing what an extra sound channel or two will do. Or is it 3 channels? I can't remember. I should know. I talked to the guy who made this sound chip and the game's soundtrack, but again, I'm old and forgetful. And that's been a long time. It's been like 7 or 8 years. Good grief. Ah, now I can throw 2 axes. Axon. Whatever. Alright, well, I'm actually probably going to wrap this stream up, as much fun as it is playing Castlevania 3. I do have other work I need to do, but I hope you guys have enjoyed watching me play Castlevania 3. Okay, so if you don't get Sipho, if you stick with Grant, if you bother to get Grant in the first place, he can stick to walls and ceilings, so he can actually go up and get whatever's in there. Oh, it's just a heart. Like, okay, that's no big deal, who cares? That's why I don't play Grant, because you can get extra stuff, but who cares? It's not important. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching me play video games and having streams that cut out unexpectedly. Hopefully... yeah, hopefully I have answered some of your questions about the Analog NT. If not, I would definitely recommend checking out the review I'm going to post later this week. And if you're curious about, you know, playing original hardware and making it look good on a modern TV, please check out the series I wrote yesterday, The Quest for Retro Game Perfection, or something along those lines, which is a very lengthy, very involved piece on not only why people like me turn into weird obsessives and try to make their video games look really awesome, but also... that was really sad. What was I saying? Oh yeah, also how you can make it happen and what your options are and so on and so forth. It's not a comprehensive guide, but there is a huge list of links at the end of it all, so you can go places that are much more comprehensive than what I could put together. It's basically just a starter guide that I've written, but there's a lot of information out there. A lot of people who will be very happy to help you share their obsession. That's the thing about a sickness, is people are always happy to be vectors for it and to share it with you. Why will he not go down? I don't understand. Okay, well, anyway, that's probably as good a stopping point as any. So, thanks for watching this past hour and 20 minutes or so. I have been Jeremy Parrish, and you have been watching USstreamer for July 21st. And, yeah, keep reading usgamer.net for more cool stuff, video games old and new, and I will catch you guys next time I stream.